The small village of Hargrove lay in ruins, the once quaint homes reduced to smoldering wreckage. A heavy fog rolled over the dirt roads, mingling with the acrid stench of burned wood and flesh. Leon S. Kennedy crouched beside an overturned cart, his eyes scanning the desolate street. The mission brief had been vague, another outbreak, possibly a new variant of the T-virus, but the reports from the area didn't match anything Leon had encountered before. Survivors described creatures that moved like lightning, with strength that defied explanation. Leon adjusted his earpiece. "Hunnigan, I've reached the village. It's bad. Bodies everywhere, and no sign of survivors." In his ear, Ingrid Hunnigan's voice was steady but concerned. "Understood. Be careful, Leon. If the intel is correct, these infected may be different from what you're used to." "That's what worries me," Leon muttered, rising to his feet. Leon moved cautiously down the main street, his boots crunching on shattered glass. The village was eerily silent, save for the faint crackle of a nearby fire. He stepped into the town square, where a small pile of bodies lay in the center. Their limbs were contorted at unnatural angles, their faces frozen in terror. Leon knelt beside one of the corpses, his fingers brushing a torn piece of fabric. The material was strange, sleek and metallic, like some kind of advanced armor. "What the hell is this?" he muttered. A faint sound behind him made Leon freeze. A low, guttural growl, followed by the scrape of claws against stone. Leon spun around, his pistol drawn. From the shadows of a nearby alley, a figure emerged. At first glance, it looked human, but as it stepped into the dim light, Leon's stomach twisted. The creature's skin was gray and mottled, patches of muscle and sinew exposed. Its eyes glowed faintly, and its mouth was smeared with dried blood. But it wasn't just its appearance that unnerved Leon. The creature wore a tattered red, white, and blue uniform, the unmistakable remnants of Captain America's costume. "No way," Leon whispered, his grip tightening on his weapon. The infected captain tilted its head, its lips pulling back into a snarl. Then it lunged. Leon fired, the shots echoing through the empty village. The bullets struck the creature's chest, but it didn't slow down. "Damn it," Leon growled, diving out of the way as the creature slammed into the cart behind him, shattering it into splinters. The creature turned, its movements unnervingly fast. Leon raised his pistol again, aiming for the head. He fired 2 more shots, and this time, the creature staggered, black ichor oozing from the wounds. But it didn't fall. Instead, it picked up a piece of the shattered cart, a chunk of wood the size of a baseball bat, and hurled it at Leon with impossible force. Leon barely managed to duck as the projectile smashed into the wall behind him, leaving a deep dent. "Okay," Leon muttered, backing toward a nearby building. "You're definitely not standard issue infected." The creature charged again, its shield-like arm raised. Leon fired one last round, hitting it square in the eye. This time, it collapsed, its body convulsing before going still. Leon approached cautiously, his pistol trained on the creature's head. Up close, the remnants of the uniform were unmistakable. He knelt, pulling back a piece of the tattered fabric to reveal a faint insignia on the chest, a faded white star. What the hell is going on here? Before he could dwell on it, a faint hum caught his attention. It was a high-pitched whine, like the sound of electricity arcing. Leon turned to see a small charred device, half buried in the dirt near the pile of bodies. He picked it up, turning it over in his hands. The device was circular, with a smooth metallic surface that pulsed faintly with an otherworldly blue light. Strange symbols were etched into its surface, none of which Leon recognized. "Hunnigan," he said into his earpiece. "I just found something. Some kind of tech. It doesn't look like Umbrella's usual work." "Describe it," Hunnigan replied. Leon glanced at the glowing symbols. "It's advanced, way beyond anything I've seen. Could this be another one of Wesker's projects?" There was a pause before Hunnigan responded. "It's possible. If Wesker is involved, this could be tied to his experiments with interdimensional research." Leon frowned. "Interdimensional? You're telling me this thing could be from another universe?" "Unconfirmed," Hunnigan said. "But it's not out of the question. Wesker's been obsessed with finding ways to expand his reach." Leon exhaled sharply, pocketing the device. "Well, whatever it is, it's bad news. One of the infected looked like... I don't even know how to describe it. It was wearing some kind of uniform. Looked like a superhero's costume." "Superhero?" Hunnigan's voice was incredulous. "Yeah," Leon said, his tone grim. "And it didn't go down easy." A sudden roar echoed through the village, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps. Leon's blood ran cold, as more figures emerged from the fog. 3, maybe 4, all moving with the same unnatural speed and strength. One of them wore a suit of decayed red and gold armor, its chest glowing faintly with a corrupted arc reactor. Leon didn't wait for introductions. He bolted toward the nearest building, ducking inside and slamming the door behind him. "This day just keeps getting better," he muttered, reloading his pistol. Outside, the growls grew louder, accompanied by the metallic scrape of something sharp against stone. Leon pressed his back against the wall, his mind racing. Whatever Wesker had unleashed, it was unlike anything he'd ever faced, and he had a sinking feeling this was only the beginning. The decrepit lab was buried in the hills on the outskirts of the village. Leon found it after following a faint trail of strange, clawed footprints leading into the wilderness. The building was partially collapsed, its walls cracked and overgrown with vines. Faded Umbrella Corporation logos on the rusted gates gave him pause. "Figures," Leon muttered, stepping through the entrance, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. Inside the lab was a scene of chaos. Broken glass crunched beneath his boots, and overturned tables spilled strange vials of glowing liquid onto the floor. Bloodstains streaked the walls, and scorch marks suggested that whatever had happened here wasn't just an accident. Leon knelt by a shattered console, his gloved hand brushing away shards of glass. Among the wreckage, he spotted a small holographic projector. With a press of a button, the device flickered to life, displaying a grainy recording. The recording showed a dimly lit lab where Albert Wesker stood at the center of the chaos. His usual calm, smug demeanor was tinged with something else: excitement. "Incredible," Wesker's voice purred, his glowing eyes reflecting the faint blue light of a device, similar to the one Leon had found in the village. "This technology allows access to dimensions beyond comprehension, and the beings it has brought us, they're perfect. Enhanced strength, speed, and resilience, the ultimate bioweapons." The camera panned to a containment unit. Inside, a hulking figure thrashed against reinforced glass. Leon's stomach turned as he recognized the shredded red and gold armor, the dim glow of a corrupted arc reactor on its chest. "Tony Stark," Wesker said almost reverently. "Reduced to instinct, but still powerful. If we can harness this infection, the possibilities are endless." The recording ended abruptly, the image flickering out. Leon stood, his grip tightening on his pistol. "Wesker, what the hell have you done?" A faint clanging sound echoed through the lab, pulling Leon from his thoughts. He swept his flashlight across the room, illuminating rows of shattered containment pods. The air was thick with tension as Leon moved cautiously, his boots crunching on shattered glass. Each step felt heavier than the last, as though the walls themselves were closing in. A low growl reverberated through the room. Leon spun toward the sound, his flashlight catching a brief glimpse of movement, a flash of red and gold, streaked with blood and decay. "Come on," Leon muttered, his voice low. The growl grew louder, accompanied by the heavy clang of metal against metal. From the shadows, the creature emerged. It was Iron Man, or what was left of him. His armor was corroded and blood-stained, chunks of it missing to reveal rotting flesh underneath. The once brilliant arc reactor on his chest flickered weakly, its light dim and erratic. The creature's head tilted as it focused on Leon, its once human eyes now glowing with a faint, malevolent light. With a guttural snarl, it lunged, the thrusters on its damaged boots sputtering to life. Leon dove to the side just as Iron Man's fist smashed into the ground, leaving a crater in the concrete. He rolled to his feet, raising his pistol and firing 3 quick shots. The bullets struck the creature's chest, but they barely slowed it down. The infected Iron Man raised its arm, the repulsor cannon glowing faintly before releasing a burst of unstable energy. Leon barely had time to duck behind a table as the blast tore through the room, sending debris flying. "This isn't fair," Leon muttered, reloading his weapon. The creature charged again, its thrusters propelling it forward in a jerky, erratic motion. Leon fired at the exposed flesh on its neck, and the creature let out a guttural scream, staggering backward. Taking advantage of the opening, Leon grabbed a pipe from the floor and swung it with all his strength, smashing it against the creature's damaged arc reactor. Sparks flew as the reactor sputtered, and the creature convulsed before collapsing to the ground. Leon stood over the fallen monster, breathing heavily. "Not so invincible now, are you?" Before he could catch his breath, a faint, rhythmic tapping echoed through the lab. The sound of footsteps, steady, deliberate. Leon turned toward the noise, his flashlight cutting through the shadows. Another figure emerged from the darkness. This one was dressed in a tattered red, white, and blue uniform, its iconic shield dangling from a rotting arm. The star on its chest was barely visible beneath layers of blood and grime. Zombie Captain America raised its shield slowly, tilting its head as if studying Leon. Then, with a sudden burst of speed, it charged. Leon fired, but the creature deflected the bullets with its shield, the metallic clang echoing through the room. "Of course you do that," Leon muttered, diving out of the way as the shield came hurtling toward him. The shield embedded itself in the wall, and Leon seized the opportunity, firing at the creature's exposed legs. It stumbled, but its movements were unnervingly precise. Leon dodged another swing, grabbing a discarded grenade from a nearby console. He pulled the pin and tossed it at the creature's feet. The explosion rocked the lab, sending dust and debris into the air. When the smoke cleared, the infected captain was still moving, though its body was heavily damaged. "Just stay down already," Leon shouted, firing one last round into the creature's head. The infected captain finally collapsed, its body twitching before going still. Leon leaned against the wall, his chest heaving. "Zombies with superpowers," he muttered, shaking his head. "What's next?" The answer came sooner than he expected. A faint, high-pitched laugh echoed through the room, light and playful, but with an edge of malice. Leon turned, his flashlight sweeping across the debris. For a moment, he thought he saw something move. A figure clinging to the ceiling, its body gaunt and spider-like. The laugh came again, closer this time. "Great," Leon muttered, gripping his pistol. "Now we've got spiders." The lab was quiet again, save for the faint hum of sparking wires and the dripping of some unknown fluid. Leon crouched beside the ruined console, his flashlight casting jagged shadows against the walls. His every nerve was on edge, his ears straining to catch any sound that might betray another ambush. The high-pitched laugh came again, faint but unnerving, echoing through the cavernous space. Leon rose slowly, his pistol raised. "All right," he muttered. "Whoever, or whatever you are, show yourself." The only response was the sound of something scuttling across the ceiling. Leon's flashlight snapped upward, catching a brief glimpse of movement, a hunched figure clinging to the exposed beams above. Its elongated limbs ended in jagged claws, and its decayed face was partially hidden beneath the tattered remains of a mask. "Spider-Man," Leon murmured, recognizing the red and blue costume stretched across the creature's gaunt frame. The figure let out a guttural hiss, its glowing yellow eyes narrowing as it stared down at him. Then, with an almost playful lilt, it spoke. "Well, well, well," the creature rasped, its voice warped, but unmistakably tinged with Spider-Man's characteristic humor. "If it isn't Mr. Tall, Dark, and Broody, you're not Wesker, unless he started wearing leather jackets." Leon's grip on his pistol tightened. "You're one of them," he said, his voice steady despite the knot forming in his stomach. The creature tilted its head, a grotesque parody of curiosity. "One of them? You mean the brain-munching super squad, guilty as charged." It dropped from the ceiling with unsettling grace, landing a few feet away from Leon. Up close, its appearance was even worse. Half of its face was missing, the exposed bone glistening in the flickering light. But its posture wasn't overtly hostile, and its hands hung loosely at its sides. "But you're not attacking me," Leon said cautiously. The creature, Spider-Man, let out a dry, rattling laugh. "Don't get me wrong, pal. The hunger's always there. It's like being starving and smelling a pizza you can't have. But I've got something the others don't. A little voice in my head reminding me not to eat the nice man with the gun." Leon didn't lower his weapon. "Why are you here? What does Wesker want with you?" Spider-Man's expression darkened, or as much as it could, given his decayed features. "Oh, that guy. Total psycho. He found a way to pull us into your reality. Don't ask me how. I was a little preoccupied with, being a zombie. Anyway, he figured out how to use some fancy tech to control the others. And you." Spider-Man tapped the side of his head, his rotting fingers making a wet squelching sound against the bone. "Lucky me, I'm the exception. Guess my Peter Tingle's still working overtime." Leon frowned. "If you're not under his control, why haven't you stopped him?" Spider-Man's laugh was hollow. "Because the others aren't like me. They're gone, completely. There's nothing left of Tony, Steve, or the rest of them. Just the hunger. And Wesker's using that hunger to turn them into weapons. Weapons he plans to set loose on your world." Leon's jaw tightened. "And what happens if they infect more people?" "Oh, they will," Spider-Man said, his tone grim. "And your world doesn't stand a chance. Super zombies? You do the math." Leon lowered his pistol slightly, though his stance remained tense. "If you're here to help, you've got a funny way of showing it." Spider-Man's decayed mouth twisted into something resembling a smirk. "Hey, I dropped in to say hi, didn't I? Besides, I'm your best chance at stopping this nightmare. I know the others better than anyone, and I know Wesker's next move." Leon's eyes narrowed. "What move?" Spider-Man pointed one clawed finger toward the far end of the lab, where a set of reinforced doors stood partially ajar. "Through there. That's where he's keeping the rest of his toys. If we're gonna stop him, we'll need to shut down his control tech and send us all back where we came from." "And how do I know I can trust you?" Leon asked. Spider-Man's smirk faded, and for a moment, something genuine flickered in his rotting eyes. "You don't," he said softly. But trust me on this. I want to go home just as much as you want us gone. Leon stared at him for a long moment, weighing his options. Finally, he nodded. All right, but if you turn on me... Yeah, Spider-Man said, waving a decayed hand. You'll put me down like a rabid dog. Got it. Now let's go save the world, partner. Spider-Man moved ahead, his grotesque agility unsettling as he scaled walls and scouted ahead. Leon followed cautiously, his flashlight sweeping the darkened corridors. As they approached the reinforced doors, the air grew colder and the faint hum of machinery filled the space. Spider-Man paused, his claws gripping the edge of the doorway. Heads up, he said, his voice low. Wesker's been working overtime in there. Whatever's waiting for us, it's gonna make your hair gel drip. Leon raised his pistol, steeling himself. Then let's make this quick. Spider-Man glanced back at him, his yellow eyes gleaming faintly. You're gonna love this, he said dryly, before slipping inside. The reinforced doors creaked open, revealing a cavernous room filled with flickering monitors and rows of containment pods. The air was charged with a faint hum of energy, and the metallic walls were streaked with blood and scorch marks. Leon stepped in cautiously, his pistol raised. Beside him, zombie Spider-Man clung to the ceiling, his gaunt frame blending with the shadows. This feels cozy, Spider-Man muttered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Leon ignored the comment, his eyes scanning the room. At the far end stood a raised platform, where a figure in a black trench coat waited, his glowing red eyes cutting through the dim light. Wesker, Leon said, his voice low and steady. Albert Wesker descended the platform with deliberate, measured steps. His expression was smug, his movements exuding a predator's confidence. Leon S. Kennedy, Wesker drawled, his voice smooth and venomous. Always in the wrong place at the wrong time. I assume you've met my new associates. He gestured to the containment pods, several of which began to hiss and release pressurized gas. The glass doors slid open and figures stepped out. Hulking, decayed versions of Captain Marvel, Black Panther, and Thor. Their once pristine costumes now tattered and bloodstained. Super zombies, Leon muttered, his grip tightening on his pistol. Wesker's grin widened. You have no idea how much potential they hold. Faster, stronger, smarter than your average BOW. And, thanks to me, completely under my control. Spider-Man dropped from the ceiling, landing between Leon and Wesker. Yeah, about that control thing, he said, his tone mockingly casual. You might want to check your warranty. It's about to run out. Wesker's eyes narrowed. Ah, the rogue element. I should have known your resilience would be a problem. Spider-Man pointed a jagged claw at Wesker. Hey, you're the one who brought us here. That's on you, buddy. Wesker raised a hand, and the zombified Avengers sprang to life. Thor let out an unearthly roar, his tattered cape billowing as he swung his cracked hammer. Captain Marvel's decayed face twisted into a snarl, energy crackling around her rotting hands. Destroy them, Wesker commanded. Leon barely had time to react as Thor hurled his hammer. The weapon smashed into a nearby console, sending sparks and debris flying. Move, Leon shouted, diving behind cover as Captain Marvel unleashed a blast of corrupted energy. Spider-Man leapt into action, flipping over Thor and wrapping his jagged webbing around the hammer. Yeah, no offense, big guy, but you're not exactly in your prime, he quipped, yanking the hammer from Thor's grasp. Leon emerged from cover, firing a well-placed shot at Black Panther's legs. The zombie staggered but didn't fall, its claws slicing through the air as it lunged. This is bad, Leon muttered, dodging a swipe. Welcome to my world, Spider-Man called, wrapping a web around Captain Marvel's arm and yanking her off balance. The battle was chaos. The zombified Avengers moved with a terrifying mix of speed and power, their decayed forms seemingly immune to pain. Leon's bullets slowed them down, but they refused to stay down. Spider-Man fought with grim determination, his agility and decayed webbing keeping the undead heroes at bay. But it was clear he was struggling. "Any bright ideas?" Leon shouted, reloading his pistol. Spider-Man flipped onto a control panel, narrowly dodging another blast from Captain Marvel. "Yeah, find the big glowy thing Wesker's using to control them and break it." "Helpful," Leon muttered, scanning the room. His eyes landed on a cylindrical device in the center of the platform, pulsing with the same eerie blue light as the interdimensional tech he'd found earlier. "That's it," Leon said, sprinting toward the platform. Wesker stepped into his path, moving with inhuman speed. He grabbed Leon by the throat, lifting him off the ground with ease. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" Wesker sneered. Leon gritted his teeth, struggling against Wesker's iron grip. "Not really," he choked out. Spider-Man swung in, kicking Wesker in the side of the head. The force sent Wesker staggering, and Leon dropped to the ground, gasping for air. "Go," Spider-Man shouted, landing beside Leon. "I'll keep him busy." Leon hesitated, then nodded. "Don't get yourself killed." Spider-Man gave a twisted grin. Already dead, remember. Leon bolted toward the platform, dodging debris and attacks from the zombified Avengers. Captain Marvel unleashed another blast, but it narrowly missed, striking a containment pod instead. Reaching the control device, Leon pulled out the grenade he'd taken earlier. He yanked the pin and jammed it into the base of the machine, diving for cover just as it detonated. The explosion rocked the room, sending waves of blue energy cascading outward. The zombified Avengers froze mid-attack, their bodies convulsing as the energy dissipated. Wesker let out an enraged roar, his control over the creatures severed. "You'll pay for that, Kennedy." Leon raised his pistol, aiming squarely at Wesker. Not today. Before Wesker could react, Spider-Man swung in, wrapping him in jagged webs. "Looks like you're all tied up," Spider-Man quipped. "Leon, now's your chance." Leon hesitated, his finger on the trigger. But before he could fire, Wesker's enhanced strength tore through the webs, and he disappeared into the shadows. The room fell silent, save for the faint hum of dying machinery. The zombified Avengers collapsed, their corrupted forms finally still. Spider-Man dropped to the ground, his movements sluggish. "Well, that was fun," he said weakly. Leon approached, his weapon still raised. "What now?" Spider-Man gestured toward a second console, where the faint outline of a portal flickered. "We send them back. All of us." Leon frowned. "What about you?" Spider-Man's expression softened. "I don't belong here, Leon. None of us do." The lab's remaining lights flickered erratically as Leon stood beside the damaged portal console. The flickering blue energy within the device cast harsh shadows across the room, illuminating the grotesque forms of the zombified Avengers, now motionless. Spider-Man slumped against a wall, his gaunt frame trembling with exhaustion. "Not gonna lie," he rasped, his voice strained. "That was not my best performance." Leon crouched beside the console, his fingers brushing over the cracked surface. The interface was alien and erratic, the controls labeled with symbols that defied recognition. "This thing's barely holding together," Leon muttered, glancing at Spider-Man. "How do we activate it?" Spider-Man staggered to his feet, his decayed hand resting on Leon's shoulder. "You're asking me. I'm a science nerd, sure, but this is way above my pay grade. Even alive, I'd need Stark-level brains to figure this out." Leon frowned, studying the pulsing device. If we can't figure it out, your friends are staying here, and I'm guessing that's not an option. It's not, Spider-Man said, his tone grim. If this infection spreads to your world, it'll make Raccoon City look like a picnic. Leon's hands moved across the console, guided by instinct and fragments of the symbols he'd seen on the smaller device earlier. The machine groaned in protest, sparks flying as the portal began to stabilize. The faint outline of another dimension shimmered in the swirling energy, a dark, desolate version of Earth, littered with the ruins of once great cities. Spider-Man stared into the portal, his glowing yellow eyes unreadable. "Home, sweet home," he said softly. Leon glanced at him. "You sure you want to go back? There's nothing waiting for you there." Spider-Man let out a dry laugh. "Yeah, well, there's nothing waiting for me here either. I'm not exactly gonna blend in with your crowd. Besides," his voice grew quieter, "if there's even a chance to stop the infection from spreading further, I have to try." The console emitted a warning beep, and the portal's edges began to flicker. "We don't have much time," Leon said, stepping back. Spider-Man nodded, moving toward the portal. He paused just before stepping through, turning back to Leon. "Hey, Kennedy." Leon raised an eyebrow. "Yeah?" Spider-Man hesitated, then extended a hand, a gesture that, despite his decayed state, carried genuine warmth. "You're a good guy. Thanks for not shooting me in the face." Leon smirked, gripping Spider-Man's hand firmly. "Thanks for helping me save the world, or at least what's left of it." Spider-Man nodded, then turned and stepped into the portal. His figure shimmered and distorted as the energy enveloped him. As Spider-Man disappeared, the console emitted a piercing alarm. The portal began to destabilize, its edges warping and crackling with uncontrolled energy. Leon's radio crackled to life. "Leon, what's happening?" Hunnigan's voice was tense. "The portal's falling apart," Leon replied, his voice urgent. "If it collapses while it's still active." "Get out of there," Hunnigan ordered. Leon shook his head. "Not yet." He turned to the console, his fingers flying over the controls. The device groaned, sparks raining down as he initiated the shutdown sequence. Inside the portal, Spider-Man turned back, his decayed face barely visible through the swirling energy. He raised a hand, his voice faint but resolute. "Leon," he called, "shut it down. Don't let Wesker use this again." Leon hesitated, his hands hovering over the console. "What about you?" Spider-Man's yellow eyes gleamed faintly. "I'll manage. It's what I do." The portal's energy surged, and the console's alarms grew louder. Leon gritted his teeth, slamming his fist onto the final control. The portal collapsed in a burst of blinding light, the shockwave rattling the entire lab. Leon was thrown backward, hitting the ground hard as the console exploded in a shower of sparks. When the dust settled, the room was silent. The portal was gone, leaving only the faint hum of dying machinery. Leon rose slowly, his body aching. He glanced around the room, taking in the still forms of the zombified Avengers. Their connection to Wesker severed, they were now little more than lifeless husks. He approached the ruined console, picking up a fragment of the interdimensional tech. It was charred and cracked, but its faint blue glow remained, a reminder of the nightmare that had nearly consumed his world. "Leon, are you there?" Hunnigan's voice crackled through his earpiece. "I'm here," Leon said, his voice tired. "The portal's gone. Spider-Man, he's gone too." There was a pause before Hunnigan replied. "Understood. Do you think Wesker's still a threat?" Leon glanced at the shadows where Wesker had vanished. "Wesker's always a threat, but he lost his toys today. That's something." As Leon stepped out of the lab, the first rays of dawn broke through the fog. The village was eerily quiet, the devastation left by the outbreak still fresh. Leon stared at the horizon, the weight of the night's events pressing heavily on his shoulders. He didn't know if Spider-Man had made it back, or if the infection had truly been contained. But for now, the fight was over. He reached into his pocket, pulling out the fragment of tech. Its faint glow pulsed in the dim light, a reminder that the boundaries between worlds were thinner than anyone realized. Leon tucked it away and walked into the sunrise, his thoughts on the sacrifices made to keep his world safe.